This is how my first experience on the dark web went. I'm writing this as a warning to all of you who have interest going on there. I know this may just encourage more of you on there, but please just know that what I'm telling you has given me nightmares for days now. Just read this and learn from my wisdom. Thinking you can handle what is out there isn't the same as actually handling it. I had always been interested in the dark web. However, I never owned a personal computer growing up, and the college I went to had strict internet monitoring/filtering, so I never risked making an insertion. Well, I went home due to the coronavirus outbreak and decided it was time to figure out what all the fuss was about. So I did some research and decided to install Tails as a VM and browse from there, hopefully protecting my computer from any malicious attacks. I pulled up a Tor browser and hop on the hidden wiki. For the most part, most of the links timed out. Most likely they were taken down for one reason or another. Then I found more links to updated hidden wikis. These must have been updated more recently, as several more of the links worked. Nothing crazy. Some deep web porn, honestly the cleanest stuff is better. Sites selling drugs, IDs, Bitcoin, etc. The occasional conspiracy site, Red Rooms, that looked like a 10-year-old taking an HTML course made. Most likely scams. It was near the bottom of this hidden wiki page that I found an interesting site. I forget the name, but the description said link paste. If you ever find the wiki page, a quick Control F will find it for you. It was a pretty simple website. Basically, it was an online forum, actually similar to Reddit. However, it appeared it was primarily used for posting newfound links and offering various services. Hacking, drugs, prostitution, some darker stuff too, linking/selling child porn and pay to view webcams of blackmailed teens. I stayed away from those. One of the links caught my eye for some reason.
Get revenge on my girlfriend.
Normally posts like these linked the girlfriend's nudes or whatever, but not this one. The OP gave a ton of her info, saying she cheated. Her driver's license, pictures, email, address. I couldn't read all of it because apparently the girl was Chinese. At first the comments were actually quite wholesome and I laughed. People telling him that she wasn't worth it and he could do way better.
Don't worry about her, King. You can do so much better.
And whatnot. Surprisingly wholesome, actually. I guess even on the dark web, we're all still bros. But as I scrolled down, one of the comments posted a link captioned,
Got revenge.
I, being an idiot, opened it. It redirected me to what looked like a downgraded YouTube video. I clicked play. The video started off in what looked like somebody's unfinished basement. The camera panned around to a hooded woman tied up in a chair, naked. The floor was covered by a tarp. I had a sinking feeling of where this was going. I should have closed the link, deleted the VM, and never looked back, but my curiosity got the better of me. A man walks in from the edge. He's shirtless, revealing a hairy beer gut, but he's wearing what looks like a GIMP mask. The footage was kind of grainy, so I'm not totally sure. I see he's holding a hacksaw. I should have closed that browser then and there, but I sat, paralyzed by fear of what I knew I was about to see. He took the hood off of the woman, revealing what looked like the woman in the photos above. Her hair was disheveled and her makeup was smeared across her face, crying. She looked around frantically, trying to make out her surroundings. The man started with her arm. Still tied to the chair, he began hacking away at her shoulder as she screamed and squirmed. I could hear the sound of the saw tearing at her bone. It makes me sick just to think about it. The tarp pooled with blood. I don't really want to describe in any more detail what happened next. Needless to say, the rest of her limbs were removed and her corpse was strewn across the floor, matted with blood. The camera came close into her face as if to verify it was the girl. No longer paralyzed, I immediately closed the browser, horrified by what I had just seen. However, there was a new window open, like one of those pop-up boxes. On it was simply a series of numbers, an IP address, and below it, the text.
We know who you are.
I quickly opened a terminal and typed in ipconfig, displaying my IP address. It was a match. I stared for a minute in terror. Did they know who I was? Where I am? I sprung into action. I powered off the virtual machine, deleted it from VMware. I then immediately deleted the desk image file it came in and emptied the recycle bin. I restarted my computer. There didn't seem to be any sign of any malware, so I shut it down and went to bed, falling into a restless dream. I haven't really slept since then. I keep seeing what I saw in my nightmares. I'm still scared that somehow they'll find me. I sleep with a gun now. Every noise at night wakes me up in terror. I'm writing this to all of you who want to be deep web delvers. This isn't going to stop most of you, but at the least I can warn you. Be careful. Try to stay to the safer sites. Don't just click random links. There's some cool stuff out there, but whatever you see is with you forever. I'm probably not ever going back there. There's nothing on there worth what I've been through. True dark nets are not nets at all. Tor and protocols like it are an anonymity and plausible deniability source. Actual dark nets are kept well and truly hidden and cannot be found by any means available to the average channer. Trust me. Just one example, out of maybe 4 or 5 I have personal experience with. To illustrate what it takes, do take special note that this involves a great deal of luck. A friend of mine works at a small car insurance broker's office and asks me to fix a problem with his computer, not recognizing the office scanner on the network. This is not related, just how I ended up there. I brought my laptop and noticed a WEP wireless net with high signal strength. Out of curiosity, I turn on my sniffer to pick out the password while I work on the scanner. Few hours later, I'm leaving when I remember the sniffer. Got the pass, connected, poked around. So, it's a basic home network, one system online with internet access, no firewall, apparently no antivirus. For the hell of it, I drop in the back door before I leave. You never know what goodies you can run across. Well, I get home and really start digging through this computer. Just your average home computer. Most interesting stuff are some text returns. There's a couple of text files that have what appear to be passwords, random characters, and a couple of names. Not much interesting, so I put my worm on it and leave it be for future use maybe. Weeks later, I'm arranging some proxies for a few of my bots when I realized that there are 4 new bots I hadn't set up myself. What I figured later is that the owner of the WEP machine, my friend's boss, had taken a file from it on a floppy, which my worm happily infected, which then spread to a few more machines he used. This is where the interesting stuff begins. 2 of those machines had internet access, of course, but they had apparently never been used to actually access the internet. They both ran Windows 98 completely unpatched. They apparently had internet access only because they were physically networked with other machines that were used for internet access. Each of these machines had about 3 terabytes of storage. Mostly appeared empty, but was actually packed near full of encrypted bytes. The stuff that was easily viewable included huge amounts of personal information, including SSNs and tax IDs, names, addresses, lists of family and friends, sometimes pets, sometimes a lot of details such as a vehicle, clothing, height, weight, recent medical issues, huge amounts of information. Not every listing had all of it, some were just a name. What they all had were dates. Couldn't make much sense of that. What I could make sense of were bank accounts. Thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of account numbers, institutions, safety deposit boxes all over the world. South Africa, Russia, Brazil, everywhere. Nothing but the basic identifying information and another date. No note of what they might be. As I was picking through one of these 2 machines, I noticed a file being written. I figured someone was using the computer at that moment, but the only command events were coming from my worm. Nobody using a mouse or keyboard, so then I figured it was an automated system process. Watched what it was doing for a minute, then I realized the computer was communicating on another network that wasn't a protocol I recognized. Because I knew when it started writing and when it stopped, I was able to transcribe the entire file, which was about 78 megs. I assumed it was one file, not a chunk of something else, and I was right. It was still encrypted, but it turned out to be fairly simple, since it was one file. I had a few educated guesses about what a file that size was, and my first was right. It was a movie, MPEG format. The title was just a random string. The video itself was an overhead view of 3 men sitting at a table. In the entire 15 minutes of the video, only one spoke. Sounded like gibberish. I figured it was a code or he was nuts. He said things like, "Broken banana stung red boot." He would pause, then say another strange sentence. Kept going for about 10 minutes. The other 2 just watched him. One was drinking what I assume was coffee. Finally, he leaned back and asked if they would leave his daughter alone. The guy drinking the coffee just shook his head quickly. The talker started crying. Really crying, like hard. He leaned forward again and said another nonsense sentence and the video ended. Timestamp was about 20 minutes before the video was uploaded to the machine I got it from. I had a really weird feeling about it, but my best guess at the time was it was some kind of clip from a movie I hadn't seen, and what I saw was a streaming broadcast. The timestamp on the file just being the time it was being sent. In it, the man that had spoken in the first one was crying like a baby as he what appeared to be the corpse of a young girl, with her throat cut and blood all over the table that the 3 men had been sitting at in the first video. The other 2 men were still in the room, standing on either side of the room watching, smoking cigarettes. I didn't finish watching it, only got about a minute or so in before it sank in what I was seeing. I've seen a lot in my time. This was not a movie. I cleaned my traces from those systems and haven't looked back. What I'm still finding hard to believe is that from the computer I'd originally hacked, these other systems got infected by a floppy. As near as I can tell, the 2 storage computers were on opposite sides of the globe, one in LA, one in Beijing. The web computer I found was in Dallas and 2 of the other infected computers were in Winnipeg. As far as I know, my friend's boss had not left the country. His brother-in-law had been visiting at the time though,